Welcome to the deep dive. We've just finished analyzing a really fascinating stack of sources this week, all focused actually on early season whitetail hunting prep.
That's right.
This deep dive is basically designed to give you a genuine tactical edge, a bit of a shortcut, you could say, to understanding how the experts are strategizing right now, before the season even kicks off.
Yeah, that's the goal today. We're trying to distill the core strategy down. We've landed on, what, 5 essential prep tips? And, of course, the safety stuff you just can't ignore.
Right.
We want to move past the common sense advice and get into those more advanced strategies. It really all centers around one main idea. How do you minimize your intrusion while still getting the maximum strategic intel?
And that idea, minimizing intrusion, that's the hook right away, isn't it? All the research we looked at points to early scouting being absolutely critical for success.
No question.
But the challenge, the real sort of conflict in this early prep stage is figuring out how you gather all that valuable info without tipping off or, disturbing the mature buck you're hoping to see later this fall. Even the smallest disturbance now, well, it could jeopardize the whole thing.
Precisely. The sources really hammer this home discipline as probably the most effective tool you have preseason. If you get predictable or leave too much scent, maybe too much physical disturbance in a core area now, you've essentially just trained your target buck to avoid that spot when the season actually opens.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that central conflict.
Yeah.
So the first foundational tip, the strategy our sources really highlight, is understanding that, well, every deer is different. And that difference kind of dictates your whole land management approach.
It really does. The variability among whitetails is honestly astonishing. It goes way beyond just age or, rack size.
Yeah.
We often assume a big buck we get on camera thinks of our property as his permanent home base.
Right. You see him there, you think he lives there?
Exactly. But the sources point out there are really 2 distinct types of mature bucks using your land.
Okay, and these are the homebodies versus the travelers, I think they called them.
Correct. Yeah, the homebody, well, he usually sticks to a pretty small, consistent radius. They're, let's say, easier to pattern. Their core territory stays relatively stable.
Makes sense.
But the traveler, now he takes what the sources kind of amusingly call vacations. These are bucks that dramatically shift their ranges. Sometimes they spend weeks, even months, roaming territories they wouldn't normally frequent, say, during the rut.
Huh. So, okay, if you get a picture of, a monster traveler on your camera now in the early season, how does that actually change your stand placement strategy for later in the fall?
Well, it changes everything. I mean, if you know you're dealing with a consistent homebody, well, then you zero in your stands directly on those food sources, known bedding areas, that kind of thing.
Standard approach.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But if that big buck turns out to be a traveler, relying solely on, say, your food plots might just be a waste of your time. You should probably shift your focus more towards transition corridors, pinch points, those major travel funnels he might use just to move across your land.
Okay, so you're hunting his route, not his temporary dining spot.
Exactly. You're thinking about where he's going, not necessarily where he happens to be feeding today.
Got it. That strategic difference leads us straight into the main scouting tool everyone uses. Trail cameras. I mean, they're invaluable, right? Confirming who's around, where they're bedding, the general traffic flow.
Yeah.
But here's where that paradox of early scouting really comes in.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because while those trail cams give you fantastic, almost real-time intel, the research strongly stresses that consistently going back and forth to pull those SD cards. Well, that's probably the most common preseason mistake hunters make.
Right. You get the pictures, the new intelligence.
But you're leaving fresh human scent.
Yeah.
Repeated ground disturbance. Right smack in the buck sanctuary.
Okay, so what's the strategic compromise then? How often should we realistically be checking those cameras without risking, contaminating the whole area?
Well, based on our notes, for those really sensitive core bedding areas, the general consensus seems to be check them once a month, maximum.
Once a month, that requires some serious willpower.
It does. And ideally, only during times when you expect, like, high winds or maybe heavy rain to help dissipate your scent almost immediately. You absolutely have to resist that urge to check them weekly.
Yeah, I can see that temptation.
The intelligence you gain from a picture that's, say, a week old, it rarely outweighs the potential damage of leaving your human signature behind again and again. The key insight here is really to treat every single visit to that buck's core living area like it's a surgical one-time infiltration mission. Get in, get out, minimal trace.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so once those cameras confirm where the deer are and maybe what type of buck we're hunting, homebody or traveler, that kind of dictates our next physical step, right?
Yeah.
Setting up for the perfect shot. So moving from that stealthy intelligence gathering to actual physical changes, pre-cutting shooting lanes. The sources call this a vital preparatory move, almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's all about optimizing that moment of truth, isn't it? Cutting those lanes now, especially when you coordinate it with known congregation spots like food plots, mineral licks, maybe even right near your trail camera setups.
Mm-hmm.
It just ensures that when you finally get that opportunity, you take that shot, you've eliminated the risk of, say, a deflected arrow or just an obstructed view through the branches.
And like the camera checking rule, this prep work has to be done early, right? You cut the lanes, maybe hang your stands then too, and then you just stay out.
Exactly. Get it done and leave it alone. The source material also really emphasizes using hand tools if you can. Crooners, maybe battery-operated shears, rather than busting out a noisy chainsaw.
Ah, good point. Minimize the noise disturbance too.
Right, and minimize the debris and damage left behind. This whole physical prep phase, it's really part of the long game strategy.
Speaking of the long game, let's talk attraction for a minute. Food plots. Universally, deer are described as extremely food-driven. So planting a food plot, it gives you an inherent advantage, a focal point for stands and blinds.
Yes, definitely. But, we need to elevate this conversation a bit beyond just saying food plots attract deer. That's obvious. For the advanced hunter, who's really focused on minimizing intrusion,
Okay.
the strategic question becomes, which type of plot actually requires the least amount of disturbance over time?
Ah, that's a great distinction. Not all plots are created equal in terms of maintenance.
Not at all. The research seems to suggest focusing on perennial plots, things like various clovers, alfalfa maybe.
Yeah.
Once they're established, they require way less annual disturbance compared to rotational grains like corn or soybeans.
Right, you plant them once, basically.
Pretty much. You plant them early, they provide consistent, high-protein forage that draws deer year after year. But you might only need to visit that location a few times a season for maintenance, like mowing or fertilizing.
Okay. And the timing.
Well, the sources note that late July, where we are now maybe, is definitely pushing it for starting a major plot for this season. But it's never a bad time to get the planning and maybe the soil testing done now for next season. That's crucial long-term habitat management.
Good point. Plan ahead. Okay, this brings us to what might be the ultimate discipline required for keeping that intrusion low. Scent control. All the sources agree it's a necessity.
Absolutely essential.
But they also seem to imply that most hunters, well, maybe they stop after the basics, like a shower before the hunt and a quick spray down.
And that's where the advanced strategy really kicks in. It's got to be an integrated approach. It involves using specialized tools, sure, but also, and maybe more importantly, rigorous behavioral changes.
Okay.
The sources really stress that truly effective scent control means attacking those odor molecules at every single stage, not just right before you head into the field.
Let's touch on the technical tools briefly then. Lots of hunters use commercial sprays, obviously, but what about some of the more advanced methods like ozone generators?
Yeah, ozone machines get talked about a lot. They work by generating O3 molecules, which are designed to chemically attack and neutralize odor molecules on your clothes, your gear.
Sounds effective.
They can be useful,
Yeah.
definitely, but they're really just one layer of your defense system. The real game changer, according to the research, is the behavioral discipline that has to go along with using those tools. The tools alone aren't magic.
Okay, so what are those non-negotiable behavioral keys then? The things that separate really successful scent protection from just, going through the motions.
Well, first off, you absolutely have to treat your hunting clothes like they're, I don't know, a biohazard suit.
Oh, okay.
Store them in sealed containers, completely away from your home's ambient air and all those residual cooking or pet odors. Keep it pure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sealed and separate.
Secondly, and this is maybe the most critical part the sources highlight, you have to pay meticulous attention to wind direction. And not just the simple horizontal drift you feel on your face,
Okay.
but also the vertical thermal currents, those invisible air movements.
Ah, thermals. Right, that's where the really advanced analysis comes in. You can check the wind on an app, sure, but thermals are constantly shifting based on temperature changes, the terrain.
Exactly. If you're sneaking in to check a camera first thing in the morning, you need to understand that cold air tends to pool and sink. It creates a thermal drop that carries your scent downwards, maybe into valleys or draws.
All right.
Then, late in the afternoon, as the ground warms up, rising warm air creates a thermal lift. That carries your scent high up, potentially over ridges. Using this knowledge to plan your approach route to a stand or even just for that quick camera check.
Uh,
That ensures you don't accidentally contaminate the airspace of the very deer you're trying to observe undetected. That critical understanding of air movement. That's infinitely more valuable than any bottle of scent-killing spray you can buy.
that makes a ton of sense. It's about physics, not just products.
It really is.
Okay, before we wrap up this whole tactical deep dive, we absolutely have to cover the most serious element that came up consistently in our sources: tree stand safety.
Yes, absolutely critical.
For anyone out there setting up a stand, using one, taking one down, this is non-negotiable prep knowledge.
It truly is. And the statistics we saw, often cited from the Tree Stand Safety Awareness Foundation, the TSSA, they show that the vast majority of serious falls don't even happen when a hunter is sitting comfortably in the stand.
Really? When do they happen then?
They happen when hunters are climbing up, climbing down, or actually hanging or removing the stand itself.
Yeah.
So this preparation segment, I mean, it's literally a lifesaver. We have to treat it that way.
Okay. The sources simplified this down into 4 key steps, didn't they? The ABCDs. They need to become like a ritual, a discipline that mirrors the kind of stealth and care we've been talking about. Let's detail those.
Right. It needs to be automatic. So the foundation is this ritual.
Always remove and thoroughly inspect your stand and all your equipment every single season before you even think about using it. Look closely for any wear, tear, rust, maybe missing hardware. Don't assume it's fine because it was fine last year.
Okay. Inspect. Always.
Then B, buckle on your full body harness and make absolutely sure it fits correctly. This isn't optional gear like some fancy gadget. It's essential safety equipment, period.
B, buckle harness. Got it.
C, this is maybe the most crucial one. Connect to the tree before your feet leave the ground. Use a lineman's belt while hanging the stand and then a safety line or rope tied correctly above the stand. Maintain that connection throughout the entire ascent, the entire descent, and for the whole duration of your hunt. This single step, staying connected, it virtually eliminates the risk of a fatal fall if something slips or breaks.
C, connect before leaving ground. Absolutely vital.
And finally, D, destination. Always, always share your precise tree stand location and your expected return time with friends or family. If an emergency happens, every single minute counts, and rescuers knowing exactly where you are is crucial. Don't just say, I'm hunting the back 40. Give them coordinates or a marked map.
D, destination shared.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. ABCDs. Simple but life-saving.
Following those steps religiously, virtually, eliminates the risk when you're interacting with tree stands. It's really the final and arguably the most important piece of this whole preseason discipline puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if we sort of zoom out and connect this whole strategic plan together,
Yeah.
what's the big picture the sources present?
Well, they really paint a unified vision, I think. Stealth and discipline have to come before the physical effort. It's a sequence. First, you identify your target buck. You confirm his type. Is he a homebody or more of a traveler?
Right?
Then you conduct the absolute minimum required physical intrusion, maybe cutting a few lanes, checking those cameras very sparingly, like monthly. And you do all of that under the cover of maximized stealth. That means advanced scent control, understanding thermals, quiet movement, the works. It's that combination.
So what does this all boil down to for you, the listener, as you're getting ready for opening day? Early prep isn't really about rushing around getting things done. It's more about strategic restraint. It's about minimizing your footprint while maximizing your chances later.
Exactly. Whether you're dealing with a resident buck who lives there year-round or one who's just passing through, you have to approach his sanctuary like a true ghost, undetected.
The research tells us the most disciplined hunters, the ones who practice that restraint, are consistently the most successful.
Yeah, that seems to be the pattern. And, given how extremely sensitive a mature buck's core living area is, it leads to a really interesting final thought, doesn't it?
Okay.
How do you decide that precise moment? When does the risk of checking those trail cameras, the risk of leaving that fresh scent, that disturbance, how do you know when that risk outweighs the benefit of having that extra week or two of recent photos?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The intelligence versus intrusion balancing act.
It really is. That strategic tension, that's a question definitely worth pondering as you finalize your own strategy before opening day. When is enough data enough?